in case it just starts. Poor Jake's been struggling with the YouTube feed recently.
There we go. We are live. Barely. I'm double checking. Yes, there it is. I love when it starts, the wheel starts to spin, then it says your connection is bad. And then usually after a few minutes it turns green. But we should be good to go. It's your old pal Emac with Chris Spags. It's been pretty much forever since we've done a show together. Probably almost, 3 full weeks at least, I believe.
I know, it must have been really hard for you. You must have been missing me so much, Emac, having to deal with all that old stubborn-ass Jake who's been rubbing the home run success in your face over and over again.
I know. It's gotten so bad, I don't even want to look at the did he dong sheet to see how far behind I am at this point. But I will say it right now. Dan Vogelbach is my pick, Chris.
Is he really? Jesus Christ. You love going back to that well. You're going to keep drinking from that well until it runs dry.
Absolutely. I'm good. Unless we got Paul Goldschmidt. We had Jesus Aguiar the other night. Or which day was that? It was yesterday. The days all run together when you play all these slates. And this will be the third time I'm talking about this one. I've written an article about it. So I'm well ensconced. We have not yet gone deep in depth over the 7 games. But we have 3 7-15 starts and 4 10-15 starts. So it's kind of spread out. We have 2 games that are still in a delay right now from the 4 o'clock slate, but those look like they probably will go off. It does not look like weather in Chicago is going to be an issue, but if you are drinking the Noah Syndergaard Kool-Aid, be careful. You'll want to check that. We got another hour before the game starts, but there looks like there's a weather pattern that could hit sometime between 6:45 and 7:20, which if that causes a delay, the one that's coming in about 9:45 or 10 is going to be potentially an issue, and that is backed up by thunderstorms thus far. Remember, we are still on forecast models at this point until it gets to local radar, but that's the best we got. But Chris, turning it over to you. I'm going to finish building my lineups. We'll talk about the different fun stuff here, but take her away, my friend.
Yeah, so no deeper dive today. So we will go game by game with you guys here on Live Before Lock. But of course, if you want to get in the mix for Osmo Plus, get yourself all the ownership projections, the rankings, the actually regular projections as well. Just plug right in the Fantasy Cruncher, the deep dive column, the lineup builder. A lot of different tools that'll help you make better DFS lineups. So right now, use that promo code Live Before Lock. We're still here. I know it's right before an All-Star break, but we'll keep going. There's going to be a ton of content across all the sports that are going while there is an MLB All-Star break. So use that promo code Live Before Lock right now. And let's get into the first game. You have the Angels going into Houston. Got Garrett Cole, who is generally going to be a top-owned pitcher, but not so much today because of a discount on one guy we'll talk about as we go. But the Angels getting 3.3 implied runs against them because of Garrett Cole, of course. And Houston on the other side getting 5.2 implied runs for them going against Andrew Heaney, who's been very good on the year. I didn't get a ton of Angels. Honestly, also didn't get a ton of Garrett Cole either for whatever reason. I think our optimizer rather, running with the Osmo projection is going to give you a little bit more. I think a lot of Robbie Ray, honestly, like a ton of Robbie Ray was coming up for me. So Garrett Cole, not an option I got to a lot. I do have a good amount of Houston. They are one of the better projected lineups overall. Heaney scares me though, honestly, Mac, with how good he's been strikeout-wise. I still have a good amount of Houston. I don't have much Heaney. But what are you doing in this game overall between the Angels and Houston?
All right. Well, gosh, as I get thunder rumbling here outside my house, knock on wood that I don't go down because then the whole show would go down. But we've got some interesting stuff here. So I did write up Houston as a stack in the Spotlight Hitters and Stacks article. It's a free article. I'm going to drop that link in the chat. Third paragraph of that also has the link and instructions on how you can sign up for Yahoo and get $30 in Yahoo Sports Rewards points matched up to your first $30 deposit. That's your initial DFS deposit. If you've played season-long cash leagues over there, this is in a different area of their account, and it does seem to give you the initial deposit bonus if you come in on our link, which is in that third paragraph, and then use the promo code AWESOME. So definitely check that out. And they have their management fee free tournaments, which I am in today. I've got 4 more lineups I'm going to build while we're on air, but I've already set up my stack, so I'm just typing in names at this point. Back to Heaney, back to Houston. So let me get the lineups here since I haven't refreshed that. I'm assuming, but let's double check. Yeah, so Springer, Altuve, and Bregman are the 3 guys I want. They are priced up compared to yesterday on DraftKings. FanDuel, buy one, get one for every batter, I swear, over there. And then Yahoo, they have a nice one. But those are the 3 I want to focus on. Those are the 3 best hitters they have against lefties. And I'm comfortable with that. If you wanted to go with a wraparound, I don't mind Jake Marisnick. he is $10. So that would get you a 4-man and probably make things somewhat unique. That's one of the ones I'm building on Yahoo. With regards to Garrett Cole, Adam and I talked about this both on the podcast and then again on the show today. He's pretty much right there with Sale, with Scherzer, and DeGrom. So he is very, very intriguing. This is an Angels team that strikes out the lowest against right-handed pitchers. So that is something that's a little bit concerning. We don't have him as one of the more popular options tonight. No surprise there, but that means he's differentiation. The pivot off of him is going to be Lucas Giolito, who we will talk about as well. But I believe I have one, I might do two of my 10 lineups on Yahoo with Cole. So not really getting much of him. I have one I might go to with Giolito, but that'll get me right around where the field is at this point, and I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, I mean, this is an Angels team who generally doesn't strike out very much versus right-hand pitching, but in today's lineup, they do have 5 guys who strike out above league average, and also Jarrell Parker in there. Is it Jarrett? Sorry, my bad. Jarrett Parker in there, whose name I have not seen until this moment in time. It was projected for 0.1% ownership. Seems like a guy who's going to project for a decent amount of strikeouts moving forward as well. So it is a better Angels matchup than normally a right-handed pitcher will get. So I don't mind going to Cole. He just didn't naturally occur for me much with our projections. And I again, really pushed heavily towards Robbie Ray by our projections. And I do think there is some upside for Cole here. Like, I don't love going against the Angels generally because they have an 18% strikeout rate versus right-hand pitching on the year, which is not good. It's about 5% under league average. But today, this lineup is a little bit weaker. I think the spot here is pretty solid all around for Cole. And I kind of wish I had more of them. I'm probably not going to change it right now. I think I have 10%. We have projected for 20% ownership on DraftKings.
Yeah,
but Cole's
17 on Yahoo. So if you go 2 on Yahoo, that'll get you above that there.
Yeah,
so
2 out of 20 on a 20 max is unfortunately going to put me under the field on Cole. But I think I just went in mentally just thinking that Cole wasn't going to be a guy I wanted. But this lineup that's there, I think, is a better one than he could have faced in general. And I don't mind the spot for Cole. And it is a spot where I feel like if you want to trust talent, that's never a bad idea in baseball, given the variance for hitters. And Cole is a guy, the strikeouts have been there, a 16% swing strike rate, 13.2 Ks per 9. He has the upside. I think he just didn't occur naturally in projections. And that is kind of a leverage spot then if he's not going to occur for a lot of people.
Yes, and that's one of the other things that we pointed out a fair amount on the strategy shows as well, which, of course, since this is kind of the combo strategy live before lock, we'll mention those sorts of things as well. But that is definitely a decent pivot spot. Now, I haven't built my Yahoo, or my DK yet. I think we might still be waiting. Yeah, we're still waiting on the San Diego and Oakland lineups. So I just want to get those in before I start hitting my sorry, I'm thinking it's not my stack.
Your crunch button. You don't want to get your crunch button going too soon. I get that.
Yes. Well, the other thing is a NASCAR locks at 7. So I've been working on my NASCAR lineups. It's Daytona. It's the night race. They are not technically running restrictor plates there. It is some sort of Phil had a great article. It's free. Go to NASCAR on the Osmo homepage, click on articles, and he breaks down the whole race. This is one of those tricky ones. More people know now to play guys from the back because it's the restrictor plate races where it means there's a lot more wrecks. So it's generally not laps led. It's whoever survives till the end. They are trying to say it's not restrictor plates.
Demolition derby combined with a NASCAR race.
Pretty much, but this one's at night, so it plays just a little bit differently. And then it also they've changed the package just a tiny bit, but you're still going to see the pack racing, which lends itself to strategy, teams helping teams, owner groups helping owner groups, loosely affiliated people helping the people that they slightly funnel money to and used car parts. So it's one of those. The guys are on the radio a lot, and these are fun to watch. But that does lock at 7. Baseball's at 7:15 tonight, so don't miss out on that.
Yeah, and our NASCAR projections are one of the stronger ones out there. It's actually been a spot which Alex himself has dedicated himself to getting better at. And I think you see the results. I mean, in the projections that we have and the content we have, Phil's been doing a great job for a while. But Alex, it's one sport that he has not been number 1 in the world in. So I think he's trying to close that gap. So
so you're going to see guys up at the top that you're like, Brendan Gaughan, who the hell is this guy? Yeah, he's probably going to be one of the guys you want on your team. Rabashua just pointed out Daytona weather not looking great. They went off owner points this week for the start order, so it's a little different than what they normally do. There's no qualifying, so if the race doesn't go tonight, we may get a race tomorrow, but the stuff's still going to lock at 7. Only once or twice has DK ever pushed it back. People get a little salty when they do that now. So I don't know that they'll do that, but I don't know what the sites are going to do. I mean, God, there was earthquakes knocking out half of a third of a NBA summer league slate last night, and they didn't do anything about that. So whichever way the wind is blowing is what they'll decide to do.
Yeah, be careful with all the various monsoons and earthquakes that I myself experienced yesterday. And it was fucking terrifying. Try not to curse on the show too much anymore, but it was one of the more harrowing things I've felt in person. A minute-long earthquake of everything in my building shaking, and including my television and stuff. So yeah, just be careful. Just be careful with weather everywhere this weekend, because it seems like we are currently in the day after tomorrow movie, and an apocalypse just around the corner. But for now, let's focus on DFS. One last thing to point out in this game, because I think it is worth noting based on the ownership. If you are going to stack Houston, Yordan Alvarez not being stacked very much, but he has been good versus lefties in terms of just everything. He's getting a lot of power still. I mean, a very limited sample size, only 20 at-bats in the majors, but he's avoided strikeouts in a way I'm shocked by, even in 20 at-bats, just a 6% K rate, and been doing a good job. So I think if you were going to do a Houston stack, I wouldn't run away from Alvarez, because he's a lefty as well, but he is a guy who gives up power to both sides of the plate fairly well, and it could be a spot that Alvarez could pay off at very low ownership. Let's keep it moving, E-Mac. Let's go to the Philly Mets game that we talked about the weather in, but let's assume the weather is going okay. How much do you expect to have this game? Which guys are you going to have?
I am doing one 6-man stack, which I am building right now on Yahoo, and that is all I'm going to have on Yahoo. I think I might have put Syndergaard in one lineup, but there are so many other guys priced right around him with Robbie Ray, John Gray, and a couple others that I'm comfortable going away from him. I did one 4-man Philly stack just to kind of combat that with Hoskins. Can you hear the rain on my window?
I can't. I can hear a vacuum in my hallway, which hopefully people can
Okay,
hear.
there you go. Yeah, it's like I'm in a car wash now. So the storm has hit here, and I'm thinking, I probably should make sure all my placeholder lineups have active players in case I lose.
So the Nationals would have gotten scratched today because, if Max Scherzer weren't pitching, they would have gotten scratched today.
Yeah, something along those lines. But back to that, I don't really want a lot of this game. I'm comfortable going with the Mets. I'm hoping people stay away from the weather, but I only want to put 10% on it because if the game gets postponed or whatever, I'm okay with that level of commitment towards it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the Mets stack is actually a bit interesting with how bad Arrieta's been, especially versus lefties. A 1.6 whip going back to last year, 5.7 xFIP, 10.3 hits per 9 allowed. Arrieta's been legitimately bad. I think a lot of the Philly pitching staff tends to have that struggle, but I think it's a spot where I'm not as crazy about the Mets bats. I mean, there is going to be some ownership on them, and that could change if we get an update throughout the show with the weather risks that are going on there right now. But it seems like a rainy situation. Actually, we just got an ownership update 3 minutes ago, so let's see if that changes anything. But yeah, I think exercising some caution if you are very enthusiastic about the Mets might be a wise move right now, because it does seem like the risk of everything is jumping pretty fast. And I wasn't crazy about Syndergaard anyway. I tend to hate when he's chalk on the slate. So not that he's chalky today, but I'm okay walking away from this one overall. Let me just double check the ownership to make sure nothing changed too much.
And then food for thought. We had that Lucas Giolito, Matt Boyd. I had 48% Giolito and 14% Matt Boyd on that slate, where they both got that whole game got postponed. I still made 80% that slate. Funny thing is, the next time those two guys pitched a couple days later, I had 50% of did I say Giolito? 50% of Ronaldo Lopez, and on the second one, and he died on the vine, and I still cashed that night. So if you have appropriately built your lineups, you can assume some of this risk over a greater stretch. And I noticed a lot of people complaining and getting mad because they're like, oh, if this game only would have gone, I would have won. The thing you have to remember is that he was probably, depending on your tournament on DK, 24 to 32% owned. Lopez was. Then he got postponed, and Boyd was around 20%. Go add in an extra 20 points for each of your missing spots. Where would you have been? Would you have cashed still or not? A lot of times you're not, because you got to remember the 30 or 40% of the people that took zeros, they'd also be getting those same points you're assigning to yourself. So look at contest, look at results, and try to understand what's actually happening versus what you think is happening in your head.
Yeah, and also, the lineup study tool that we have as part of the Fantasy Cruncher Pro memberships on Osmo.com would be one thing to check it out. So go check out those packages that we have on the site right now. Go to Osmo.com/join, because as EMAC mentioned, looking back at lineups, I mean, it's easy to be like, oh, that game would have put me over the top. But in general, you should be looking back every day at your results and trying to figure out the weak spots and You got to prepare accordingly for when the weather games go south. As we saw this week, I was talking to Mac before we came on about the Detroit game, which got postponed, which wasn't my favorite. As somebody who had a ton of Matt Boyd and a ton of leverage going against Lopez, as well as a bunch of Lopez. And it sucks, but that's part of the sport, and you have to adjust your risk accordingly. And that's why we have it as a simple number you can just plug in with the rankings that we have at Osmo.com. Let's move on, EMAC. We're at about the halfway point. We'll do home run picks after this one. We got the Cubs going into a spot here against their fellow Chicago rivals, the White Sox. Both teams projected for 4.8 implied runs. I like the idea of Giolito because the Cubs are going to be a very highly owned stack, the highest owned stack today on a bunch of the sites. And the White Sox as well, going against them with John Lester interests me because Lester's been getting strikeouts. I think his last 4 games, he's been over 6 strikeouts, which for him is not a bad number at all. This White Sox team also strikes at a pretty decent clip. 6 guys over league average in terms of strikeouts in the lineup, and also a 27% aggregate K rate for that lineup too. So Lester is a guy I'm really over the field on. I'm also going to be over the field on Giolito because I don't mind the spot for the Cubs, but I do think they're going to be a bit over-owned. What are you getting in this game?
The pitchers. And for me, it's Giolito as a differentiation play and Lester as a reasonably priced option. He's kind of the counter move to John Gray and Robbie Ray, depending on your site of choice. And that's something I think you can get a little bit of differentiation on. I haven't uploaded our projections, but we'll see what that is. For Yahoo, Lester is sitting at 9%. So that is really nothing. I'm just rolling down to see how many lineups I have him on. I have him on 2 of my lineups, so that gets me double of the field. I'm going a little less on Kenta Maeda than others. I'm going with 2 or I'm going to put in a second one with him here in my placeholder lineup and just deal with my favorite thing, Chris. I'm just going to worry about the 10 o'clock games because I need to move on to the other sides here. So I'm removing my Oakland guys and getting some 10 o'clock action here, and I will just focus on that so you guys get more of my undivided attention. But for me, it's just those hitters. Just those pitchers. If I'm going with hitters against them, I do have 1 full stack on Yahoo. If we do a 6-man and a 5-man, depending on what you believe in Madison Bumgarner, that is coming out as our top stack for a 6-man or 5-man on Yahoo. I went with 1. I think I only ended up with 4 or 5, and then I rearranged things just a little bit. But if you go with the full 6-man on Yahoo, you tend to get a little bit more differentiation against the field than if you go with the 4 or 5-mans, because generally you'll lean towards going with those more popular 4 or 5-mans.
Yeah, so people in the YouTube chat right now, I just replied to Adam in the YouTube chat, but people seem to be a little bit confused by why the Cubs are going to be so highly owned. So they're at decent prices, and I think anybody who uses a more longitudinal look at projections, which most of the main projections you'll find out there do, generally looking at a 2-year sample size, sometimes more depending on the pitcher. Giolito going into this year has not been good overall. And even I use numbers that are a rolling 2-year sample. So going back to last year, he's got a 1.3 whip, a 4.9 xFIP, 8 Ks per 9. This year, he's taken a leap. And then there are some changes here. And I'm not a guy who watches pitch types so closely because I don't want to get lost in the weeds too much from my process. But this year, he's got 6.1 hits per 9 allowed, a 1.02 whip, a 2.4% home run rate, despite being in a positive home run park, a 14% swinging strike rate. So you're looking at a pitcher who has made some drastic changes this year. So that's why you can see a discrepancy between the ownership and I guess what you kind of might think holistically. But yeah, I think Giolito's in a nice spot as leverage if the Cubs are going to be this highly owned. And for Lester too, same thing that you mentioned, EMAC. I think it's just a nice spot for both pitchers. Like I'm over the field on both, and it's a tough hitting park, or a tough pitching park rather, because it is going to give a lot of benefits to the hitters out there. But I think Lester and Giolito both have good strikeout upside, and Giolito in particular has a lot of leverage upside, not as much ownership on the White Sox, it looks like.
Sorry, someone was asking in premium chat if I may have misspoke. If I'm removing Oakland players, no, their lineup just came in. They are my second favorite stack tonight, behind the top 3 of Houston. So that's what I'm looking at there. So sorry if I misspoke. I had a lot of different things going on and words were just tumbling out of my mouth. Sometimes that happens when you're ramming the ramparts and, defending the airports from the tyranny of flintlock muskets. But, here and there.
As you were, is it our week to do that, to defend our American rights?
Exactly. So there's literal rain on my teleprompter. Actually, it's coming sideways at the window next to me here. But
I heard the thunder while you were talking during your last period. It didn't sound the best. I was like, is either Emax hungry right now and his belly's rumbling, or it's really bad thunder out there? Hard to tell which.
Yeah, we're in the middle of a fun little weather experience here. So there we are.
So Cubs stacks and White Sox stacks, are you getting close to the field on either of them, or are you going to be under them both?
On DK, I bet I'll be right around wherever the field is. Or let me rephrase that. I'll run my 5-0s, my 4-0s, my 4-4s, and then 5-2s, and I will set them so I can have somewhere between 10 and 15%. I don't think I will hit that, but depending on how their pricing goes, yes. Now I'm gonna cap my my Philly and my New York down, so that from what I was running earlier today, where I had each of them around 10%, they'll probably come in around 5% each for me, just because I don't like where the weather's shaping up for that one. So some of it could go to the battle in Chicago there. I am not entirely sure how that's going to break out yet.
All right. Oh, is that another thunder strike there?
Oh, yeah. A little bit of lightning there. Although I've got enough lights on here, it shouldn't change the Illuminati factor too much.
All right. Well, yeah, it's very audible, so that's fun. Fun for everybody. We all have our weather issues. All right. We're at about the halfway point of this show. EMAC, let's do our home run picks. Yesterday, nobody on the board. It was Jake and Randone hosting the Live Before Lock. And EMAC and I both chimed in with our picks. Unfortunately, as the people's champ, I was not able to guide the people's pick, JD Martinez, to glory. And let's blame the rain delay on that one. That's probably their fault more than it's JD's. But nobody got a home run yesterday. The overall standings on the year, Jake is still in first place with 17 total dongs, and he is tied with EMAC in terms of total correct picks. Both those guys at 16, though EMAC is down 1 in his total amount of dongage in his life. I remain in third place with 13 total dongs and 12 correct picks. And bringing up the rear, getting all of the farts in his face, is Josh Engelman with 10 correct picks and just 11 total dongs. So he's behind by quite a bit. EMAC, now's your chance to catch up with Jake. Who is going to be your home run pick? Is it actually going to be Dan Vogelbach?
It is going to be Dan Vogelbach.
Okay. Any particular reason why, or just because you love the relationship that you two share?
He's an all-star. I should have said, hey, now he's an all-star, but there you are. He's the representative, the lone representative from the archaic rule where each Major League Baseball team must be represented in the all-star game. He is the guy going for the Mariners. Now, he actually has deserved it. He's crept up there in the home run titles. He does, or in the home run chase, at least for the AL. But he is someone that's been pretty good. He looks like a fire hydrant, but I'm solid with that. And no, I do not. Nice one, Rabasha. Dan Fogelberg reference. It's close. That would be association that I would do, but no. Vogelbach is kind of shaping into being my guy. It used to be Edgar Martinez, but I think Vogelbach can take that mantle at this point. And Edgar, shout out, Hall of Fame coming up here shortly.
Yeah, he is a guy deserving of it, who a lot of the younger generation won't remember, but a strong hitter. I actually don't know his numbers overall. I feel like he's more of a Miguel Cabrera in his current state guy, where he just never had a lot of power, but just kept getting hits. Is that a fair take?
He had amazing double power. He would lead the league in doubles more often than not. He suffered a few injuries. He had to play third base for a while. Missed a couple of his prime years with hamstring issues, which kind of made everybody wonder if he was going to be Hall of Fame or not. But he is. I'm looking at this radar here for New York. I don't know if it's going to go today. It's getting worse. We are 30 minutes away, and it looks like there's, again, this is weather in motion on weather.com. Okay, weather.com, they don't like to say it, but what they do is they kind of make the weather look a little better than it should, which is, if you read, they do, and it's frustrating as hell, but it looks like it's going to rain and thunderstorm over the stadium. So that could be choppy. I will probably just let my Yahoo stuff go at this point because it's $6 and I'm not going to chase it down, but or I could if it gets really, really bad, or we get tweets from some of our favorite weather sources, I can just export in one of those lineups that I built with 10 o'clock players only and be fine.
Okay.
I am now barely going to have any on Yahoo or on DK. I will probably set each team for 3% and just accept what comes in or doesn't come in at this point, but it's looking worse, and I was not expecting this. More often than it's hard to tell with summer storms with the humidity. So a lot of times storms come in later than what is shown on the radar, the weather in motion, whatever it is, just because the whole system, the air, everything has to kind of get where it needs to be so the moisture can occur. When it's this humid, they can come faster. And that's something people forget, because earlier in the spring, it's a little bit cooler, humidity's not as up. It seems like, well, the storm never got there. once we get to summer and it's hot, they can get there quicker, and that's something I think people overlook from time to time as well.
And since EMAC just went on a monologue, I was going to make my home run pick.
Oh, sorry about that. Well, I'm gonna disappear into my downloading some lineups here.
No, it's fine. So this is a mini stack that I like quite a bit. This guy's part of, and we'll talk about it coming up. But Nolan Arenado is going to be my home run pick. I'm going against the chalk Robbie Ray, even though I am with the field on Robbie Ray. I think Nolan Arenado takes him deep, whether he has a decent day or not. And I always love a lefty split for Arenado, whether he's at home or on the road. So Nolan Arenado is going to be my pick. And I'm actually cherishing the moment to be able to take him without being chastised for picking Coors games, which we are not allowed to do, unfortunately.
No, and I did do a 3 or a 4-man Colorado stack on Yahoo just to go against Robbie Ray because he's going to be the most popular pitcher there. So it was Arenado, Story, Desmond, and I can't remember if I put in the McMahon or if I just went with those 3. But I am doing that on purpose because I do have a fair amount of Robbie Ray myself. The roof is closed in Arizona tonight, and Gray and Ray are 2 of my favorite pitchers, right up there with Kenta Maeda.
Yeah, so I mean, let's do this game. We'll move backwards and go to the other one, but I feel like while we're talking about it, so Colorado, a pretty low implied run total of 3.8 implied runs, which is going to benefit Robbie Ray, obviously. But the splits for Ray really what jumped out to me: a 1.5 WHIP, a 4.6 xFIP to righty batters. Also got, a 330 BABIP, which isn't that great, probably a little bit unlucky, but giving up home runs to at a 3.7% clip. So whenever Robbie Ray is going to be chalk, like I do like the price in him quite a bit. He has a ton of strikeout upside. This Rockies lineup has been getting dusted by pitchers here and there, but I don't think it's a bad spot to go to a Colorado stack, especially because you have Story and Arenado both in there today. Both guys mashed left-handed pitching, 148 WRC plus for Story, a 186 WRC plus for Arenado. So I like both those guys here. Arenado, I feel like a little bit safer because he strikes out less. But I think they are an interesting leverage stack, and I have enough Ray where I'm not worried about it. But yeah, I think it's a nice spot to go here. EMAC, I guess you talked about your Colorado exposure. Any Ray for you? Are you with the field? Or are you going to be underneath it? Because he's going to be pretty highly owned on a few sites.
Let's see. Where is he coming in now on? I've got him, Maeda, Gray, and I have somebody else set at like 40 or 45% with all of them. So wherever that lands, I'm okay to be a little above or a little below what the field is doing. On that one, I know Ray is 40 or 45 on Yahoo. Sorry, I'm hitting refresh here. I've got the Fantasy Cruncher Pro coming in, which automatically loads the Osmo projections, the ownership projections as they update. So, but when you hit refresh, you got to go back to your side. So Robbie Ray's at 42, so I'm going to come in at 45 or 50 there. Maeda's at 37. I'm okay with 45-ish there. Bumgarner, I'm going to end up being a little higher on that I wanted. We have him at 20. I'm probably going to come in at 30 and see what happens. And then John Gray, we have at 20. I'm going to put him at 40 and go from there. I think Miles Mikolas is your discount guy that you can look to on this slate, in my opinion. So those are the guys I'm going to go over the field on.
Okay. Also some update. Oh boy, a bunch of lineups came out. How does this affect my? Okay, no, nothing affected my entered lineups. But yeah, we also got the Oakland lineup is in, and the San Diego lineup is in. So now we have every lineup available if you were waiting for that. And of course, if you weren't waiting for that, go get the projections right now at Osmo.com and use that promo code live before lock for half off your first month of Osmo Plus. Yeah, John Gray I think is a little bit interesting as well. He does come up. He does project pretty well in the spot. And Arizona's Park, this is the one caveat for Colorado, and as EMAC mentioned, the one benefit for Robbie Ray. It is going to be a park that does limit production pretty well, especially with that roof closed. But I think there are enough reasons to try to go against Ray here. But it's the same thing. Gray does look a little bit better. He does project for more than 2x value with our projections at Osmo.com. Are you getting, you mentioned your Gray exposure. Are you getting any Arizona or I guess how much Colorado as well?
I will make sure I have 5% of Colorado at a minimum. I will probably come in with the 3-man stacks and trying to influence it to get Arenado, Story, and Desmond. And then just be fine with that. Because, this is one where I'm comfortable playing both sides of it. Ray's price point is, and the matchup is where it's at. Those are the 3 guys that are going to do the damage most likely. In this one. So on the flip side, I'm going with those guys. I don't really know who I want to stack against Gray. So I will probably allow I will make sure I have at least 5% against him. These may bump up to 10%, just because I'm going apparently very heavy on like 5 pitchers here. So I don't need to go too crazy because I'm landing on one side. I just want to hedge a little bit. If things go south, it's baseball. Things can go south in a hurry. Look at Verlander last night. I mean, Justin Verlander leading the league in home runs allowed. Really? Gosh, he's only one of the top 5 pitchers out there. So, it's weird stuff happens. Home runs are up like 15% over last year, which was like a record-breaking year in and of itself. We have to recalibrate and rethink what we're doing here. Strikeouts are also up. Josh and I have talked about this on a few of the Sunday shows. I used to have in my mind, it was like 18 to 20% was, yeah, they're okay. You really need somebody to be, yeah, they're okay. Like 22% is where you're like, okay, they're right around league average. Because we factor in, and that was just looking at starters too, by the way. We took out relievers just to get a more pure number, and it's depending on active roster, yada yada yada, a whole bunch of stuff. But it's right around 23.5% this year for the league-wide strikeout rate with the particular sample size we were looking at, and that was 2 weeks ago. The last time we did it, we may look tomorrow if we have time again.
Yeah, it's a big jump because I know last year it was 22.9, so that would be a pretty big jump. I mean, 0.6 relative to an entire league is not a small increase. So yeah, that's noteworthy. And that is the world of fantasy. Sometimes you have to. That's one thing which I feel like Adam Shit My Money made one good point about a few weeks ago, maybe on one of the deeper dive shows, was that he was saying that if you're going to take a crappy pitcher, you need to make sure that they have strikeout upside because they have to be able to balance out the runs they'll give up. And as UMac mentioned, in a world where Justin Verlander gave up all the home runs in the world, you need to get the strikeout upside for most of your guys. And I do think there are some spots today which are decent strikeout spots on paper. And let's talk about this one. Got St. Louis going against San Francisco in a pitcher-friendly park. St. Louis going with Madison Bumgarner is going to get you the second lowest implied total on the day because the Cardinals are getting 3.5 implied runs against them. Miles Mikolas on the other side getting 4 implied runs against him. I didn't get much of Mikolas or San Francisco, but I do have a good amount of Madison Bumgarner. I think he's in a pretty interesting spot overall. Got 6 guys who strike out above league average for St. Louis on their side, and they've been kind of impotent on the year, even though they have kind of awoken a bit going against Drew Pomeranz and some of the other weak Giants pitchers. I think Bumgarner's in a decent spot today at not crazy ownership, but a decent amount of it, at 20%, a little bit over 20% on DraftKings. How much are you getting out of this game, you Mac?
I will probably strike like a little more Bumgarner than I wanted on Yahoo, but that, I've got 10 times in play on DK than what I do on Yahoo, so that really doesn't matter. But I think I'll come in under on the main slate. I will be playing that 4 o'clock late, the 10 o'clock 4-game late slate. We don't get the robust four-game ones all that often on Saturday, so that one's going to be fun with all the games starting at the same time. That's where I'm going to be looking more at Bumgarner. I'm willing to go at or a little above the field because if you look at those games in that particular subset, there's not as many of the offensive spots that we want. I feel that Oakland is the best one, probably the Mariners number 2, and then your mileage may vary amongst the other 6 teams on there. So for the main slate, I'm going to go a little bit under wherever he is. I'm probably going to be over on Miles Mikolas. I love that joke. I don't care. Adam shakes his head every time I say it, but I have said it enough that he is now referred to twice on 2 different shows, 1 time each. He has called him Miles Mikolas instead of Miles Mikolas.
I always think of The Last King of Scotland. I actually talked about Jake with this, which maybe you know the reference. You know the movie The Last King of Scotland that came out a few years ago, where he's like,
I never saw it, but I am familiar with the movie.
So it's Forrest Whitaker playing the dictator Idi Amin, and his buddy is like this little British or Scottish kid who comes to whatever region that was, and he calls him Nicolas over and over again. So in my mind, it's always been Miles Mikolas, and it is not. It's Michaelis, and Jake corrects me every single time, and now it's stuck with me. I've been browbeaten enough.
Mine's more of he needs to be sponsored by Ricola.
Also a good one, a fine Swedish. I don't even know where that was, but a lovely sound of music like region that Ricola came about.
Yes, somewhere in the Alps where it's a beautiful landscape.
Also, my dog in the background, I pointed it out in the chat, but she is upside down, looking like she's stuffed right now, but living her best post-earthquake life, I guess. Let's get on to the next game here. We got a couple more to hit. We got Oakland going into Seattle here. EMAC's favorite team, of course, with Dan Vogelbach on their side. But Oakland going to be projecting pretty well for a lot of people out there if you are using our projections at awesomeman.com. But also going to have some good ownership on them. Chris Davis's price has come down. He still has a ton of power in this spot, but has been a little bit underperforming on the year, just a 99 WRC plus on the year, which is a little bit under league average. And but Marco Gonzalez given up enough production, perhaps to wake up the sleeping beauty that is Chris Davis's bat. And the Oakland stack overall looks good to me. I didn't get much Seattle. I didn't get any Bassett or Gonzalez, but I do have a good amount of Oakland. EMAC, where are you getting in this game?
I am going to be getting a lot of Vogelbach. Let me go look at the lineup. I'm hoping. So for me, the guys I'm looking for are Crawford, Vogelbach, and Narvaez from the Mariners side. On the other side, I am liking pretty much everybody on Oakland. We do have Chris Davis batting cleanup. He's been dealing with a variety of maladies, but he is in the lineup. And he's cheap, so it's hard to pass on him. I also really like Mark Conha. He was my home run pick of the night last night. That did not come to fruition. Fagley is there. Hey, Franklin Barreto got a home run from the 9-hole. Those count just the same as they do from the top of the lineup. That's for you, Seth Hader. Pinder, I think, is okay. Those are guys I would be getting in my lineups for this one. And I think... So I'm looking at this New York one. It's even worse than what I said 10 minutes ago.
Okay, that's not good. So
the other issue is these teams are going to play again in New York after the All-Star break. So it's not like they can't make it up. They could always make it up tomorrow if they wanted to. It wouldn't be a shame to go with the doubleheader tomorrow because we've got the All-Star break starting on Monday. So having a doubleheader tomorrow is not that big of a deal. So I think I'm just going to remove myself from this game. I'll leave my one $3 stack in there on Yahoo just because. But I'm going to go make sure right now that I don't have... I'm going to get Syndergaard out. I will probably set those guys for like 3% now on DK and just see what happens. Not the pitchers, just the batters at this point.
Yeah, the postponement risk has gone up to 25% on the site right now, which is coming from us at Osmo.com. So that's about 5 times higher than it was before. So yeah, not the best. If you want to exercise some caution there, now would be the time to do it. Now that you have 20 minutes left to go before lock, and it is a 7:15 East Coast time lock today, so you have a little bit extra time in case you are concerned. Poppy Bain in the chat saying, LMAO, yeah, play Chris Davis, guys, LOL. First of all, I don't think you need to do the double laughing acronyms in one chat, but B, it's baseball, man. You're here on a Saturday watching the stream. You should know baseball well enough. It's just every batter is just one hit away from turning their season around. And Chris Davis also still mashing home runs on the year with a 201 ISO, even though he has been a little bit worse. Going back to last year, he has a 276 ISO versus left-hand pitching, which includes this season. So yeah, if you want to avoid a hitter because he is hitting really with a lot of power and still continues to do so, then that is your choice, but it's the wrong choice. Baseball is a sport of variance.
So the other thing is he's 11 on Yahoo. He's like, what, 38 or something on DK? You know, just accept the 0 for 4 and anything else is gravy. And it's a reasonable spot for a guy batting against the team that allows the most runs in the league this year.
Why would you play Chris Davis when they're better plays / upside cheaper than him? LOL. You don't need to keep saying LOL and everything. You're not actually laughing, man. But you can
he might be laughing though. He might.
Like, I don't think you're having, unless you're the Joker, just laughing hysterically at everything. I don't think you're actually laughing at these things that you're saying because they're not very amusing. But you're playing him because you try to capture guys before they start to rise and their prices on the upswing. That's the whole tenet of DFS. You're getting guys when they're cheap and then they have upside. It doesn't make sense to not play a guy. If you want to play less in the field's going to be very high on Chris Davis. Going to be 36% owned on DraftKings, but the point of it is you catch guys before they're good. That's what we do and what everybody tries to do. That's why Osmo makes millions and you're in a YouTube chat. Sorry.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, if I was hand building or making 3 lineups, yeah, I wouldn't touch the New York game, by the way. Okay, I get it. Don't play Chris Davis. I just said I'm willing to take a 3% loss for those lineups on the off chance something clears up or it goes okay, or, you know, there are 7 games. There's really no awesome offensive spot here. What if it happens to be some sort of half-ass bullpen game or, you know, swingmen coming out for Philly or even for New York? Because it's not like they're going to keep, if there's delays or anything, they're not going to keep their good pitchers in. So, you know, take that chance. And if it doesn't happen, hey, it doesn't happen. You know, thank me later for paying the rake for you. But if it does well, then I don't want to hear anybody complaining that, oh, these guys just play so many lineups, they just cover every base that there is, and that's the only reason they win. That's not the only reason they win. And you can lose your money that much faster by playing all these lineups and taking all these chances.
Yeah, I think he's playing one lineup, but also still being a dick and probably going to throw some more LOL. I don't think he's laughing as much anymore. But,
No, it's your hard-earned money. If you don't want to be or if you want to be risk averse, go for it. Don't be uncomfortable. Just realize you're going to have a really chalky lineup that a lot of the other people are going to have. And if you're in these large field tournaments, congrats on your maybe min cash. That's what I've learned over the last few years of how things have changed. I have reinvented myself from 1 or 2 lineups to 3 lineups to 3 max to now I do a bunch. But it's taken me a while to get here and figure it out. There are many ways to win at DFS. There are even more ways to lose.
That is true, and that's also why the value of value is the most important thing to keep in mind a lot of times. And but whatever, if you're making your lineups, it's ultimately your choice. We can only try to guide you as much as we can. And to be clear, I'm not even saying play Chris Davis. It's just there's a difference.
Yeah, here's why we're playing him. Yeah, on the surface, good God, the guy averages 247 every freaking year of his career. It feels like 4 years straight. I think the year before it was like 244. Yes, he does hit some home runs. Yes, he's dinged up. He's been on and off, in and out of the lineup for a week straight where we thought he was going to be in the lineup, but he had a hip issue and he never made it into the lineup. He didn't go on the DL. They probably should have put him on the DL. Weird stuff happens. So, but that doesn't mean he can't hit 2 home runs tonight. Marco Gonzalez is adequate at home run prevention, but he's not perfect, and the Mariners bullpen is awful. Mariners and Baltimore lead the league in runs scored. They're within 4 of each other. The next closest team is Colorado, who, wait for it, plays half their games in Coors Field. They're 60 runs behind. That's how bad Baltimore and the Mariners are.
Yes. Yeah, I think that is a fair look at it, EMAC. And I guess let's just real fast close this game off so we can finish the last one. Seattle, you mentioned Dan Vogelbach being one of your guys. You're going to be over the field on the Seattle sack going against Bassett.
Yeah, more just those 3 guys. I'm unsure of what I really want to do for Bassett. I will be playing him on the late slate. He's going to probably make 15% of my lineups now because I've taken out the pitchers from the New York game at this point. So, hey, maybe I'm running scared there and running into the fire with some of these other guys. We'll see. Oh, excellent. Wojbomb, free agent guard Alex Caruso has agreed to a 1-year deal to return to the Lakers. There we go.
There we go.
He not only looks like Osimo, but his name is similar to Osimo. So there we are.
Wait, they're saying that because he looks like Alex, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I said not only does he look like Alex, the names are the same as well. Similar.
No, Caruso is his last name.
Right. But Osimo, Caruso?
That's not close enough. No, the resemblance is the thing there. They just force it in. But no,
they're both named Alex? That's a little
the Alex
close.
part, yes. The Alex part. Not Caruso. He's not going to have his own competitive DFS brand. But maybe he had a rock band that was also, that's actually a fun thing, which maybe a lot of people who are following the YouTube channel at this point don't know. The reason that Osimo is named Osmo, like the reason that he chose that name is because he had an emo band in high school that was an emo band called Osimo. And not because of the South Park robot played by Cartman, but in fact, that's the reason why. So maybe Caruso had a band in high school where he was jamming out to the latest Dashboard Confessional hits, and it was called Caruso. We don't know.
I didn't know there was a real band. I knew that I thought he wanted to name a band Osimo. I did not know he actually had one.
No, he is. Alex, I think, also did theater too. Like he was very much like a content creating artist type before he got too into the math world. And then we've all seen how it goes from there. Let's move on to the last game, EMAC. We have San Diego going into the Dodgers Park, where yesterday during that earthquake, a really fun video is out there on Twitter. You could see the entire stadium shaking. No players affected by it all, which it seemed kind of odd that they completely no-sold the earthquake, given how terrified the basketball commentators in Vegas were. But a fun contrast, but nonetheless, the Dodgers are ready to recover today going against Chris Paddock with 4.9 implied runs for them. San Diego getting 3.7 implied runs for them going against Kenta Maeda, who's going to be very popular industry-wide at a reasonable price. Maeda's got his flaws, but he has been good at limiting damage more than anything else. Maybe he gets pulled a little early, but he's still getting 9 strikeouts per 9, a 1.1 whip, a 14.1% swing strike rate, going against a Padres team who strikes out at a pretty solid clip. I don't mind Maeda here. I have a little bit of Dodgers as well going against Paddock for whatever reason. They just kind of occurred for me naturally. EMAC, what are you getting out of this game?
I did make 2 different Dodger stacks on Yahoo. I did not make a San Diego stack, but I still have 3 teams left of those late games, so I'm sure one of them will become a San Diego stack for some leverage. The price point on DraftKings and FanDuel, and there's 5 guys around him on Yahoo. But the price point is very, very fair for this matchup. As you mentioned, the risk is he could come out a little early. He's one of the guys that the other pitchers have been allowed a little bit more leeway with regards to the pitch count. He is the one that has not. However, he is also very, very good against righties. San Diego's going to be running a ton of them out there. They do strike out a lot against righties. They do have home run power against fellow righties. So Franmil Reyes, Hunter Renfroe, etc. Those guys have power. But think of Maeda as kind of not quite as good a version of Masahiro Tanaka, who pitches in the AL East but does give up home runs because he pounds the strike zone. That's kind of what Maeda does as well, except he gets to play in the NL, and he does not have to face a designated hitter, so he can live a little bit longer, but he also gets pulled on the double switches and for pinch hitters, depending on the game situations.
And Maeda also, it's worth pointing out because he is going against a very righty-heavy San Diego lineup. Actually, I don't think I updated the San Diego lineup in my sheet, but I don't think anything changed, right? Let me just double check this, but it looks like a very righty-heavy San Diego lineup on paper. Yeah. Okay, they put in a few more lefties, but still, Josh Naylor and Greg Garcia are not lefties I would worry about. So Kenta Maeda's lefty splits are bad. A 1.6 whip, a 4.9 xFIP, a 9.9 hits per 9 number allowed, versus righties just a 0.88 whip, a 2.49, sorry, xFIP, a 5.9 hits per 9, and 11.1 Ks per 9. So the fact that you're getting a bunch of righties and crappy lefties besides Eric Hosmer is a nice spot overall for Maeda, kind of the ideal spot you want to have Maeda in there for. So yeah, I'm with the field on Maeda. I think it's a nice spot for him. And the fact that the Padres don't have lefties who can really hurt you, like Josh Naylor, I think came up with some hype, but he's been really bad on the year. And I'm not afraid of that San Diego lineup for Maeda in this particular spot. Let me just make sure I got this right. But yeah, any Dodgers at all for you, Emac, or any Chris Paddock?
Not much Paddock. I respect the Dodgers enough. I'll put the Dodgers in at 15% here and see what happens. Because I've got most of the teams in at 10, that maybe will goose them a little bit. I've got Houston at 20. I've got Oakland at 20. I got Seattle at 15. And I'm going to see what happens. I have moved Philly and the Mets down to 3%. Everybody else is in at 10. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to run some 4-4s here. Because these take the longest, but I'll see if anybody comes in, and I've removed the pitching from that New York game. So as these are cruising through, I'm getting a ton of Houston, and that's fine. The system or the Fantasy Cruncher is going to put in a fair amount of Robinson Chirinos for me because we do need a catcher here on DraftKings, so I'm very comfortable with that going against Chris Haney because I don't think a ton of people will be on him. But it looks like Houston, Oakland, the Cubs, the Dodgers, and Seattle will be my top stacks. Right behind them is St. Louis and the White Sox. Now, the reason being is I'm getting 1% Colorado, 2% San Francisco, 2% San Diego, 4% Philly, and 4% New York. And that's about where it's going to go.
All right.
So my next ones I run, these were 4-4, so it's kind of goosed a little bit. When I run my 4-2s, my 5-0s, and my 5-2s, I'm going to take out, I think, the Mets and Philly. So I will try to increase Colorado and Arizona just for leverage plays at this point.
Yeah, I think just looking at mine real fast, the top combination stack I have is an Oakland Houston 5-3. I have Houston Cubs right behind that. I actually have a lot more Cubs than I would have wanted. I guess I have enough Giolito where it's worth that exposure, but the Cubs kind of do just pop up a lot projection-wise, and I don't know. I guess I have enough of both sides of that where I'm not worried about it, and there's so much ownership on the Cubs where I guess you don't want to have no Cubs, but I do feel like I have way too much Cubs for how, I just don't think it's that great of a spot for them overall.
It's not a good one. It comes down to their pricing, and Adam and I talked about this specifically. I asked him, I wanted to know what he thought the odds of Giolito melting down were. He said he doesn't think the odds are that great of him melting down. He thinks the odds are more likely that he does not reach a reasonable score, but he doesn't think the odds of him going backwards are any different than they would be in any other game.
All right, that's fair. And if you have any questions right now, drop them in the YouTube chat or the premium Slack. And if you're not a premium Slack member or an Osmo Plus member, now is the time to do that. Use that promo code live before lock. Get in there. There's going to be a night slate. Emacs playing it right now. He's figuring out all the finer points of it. But our ownership projections will help you get ahead of the field there for sure. That is one spot where our senior management team has done some of the best work they've done overall in terms of just winning tournaments with a really strong frequency. So use that promo code live before lock right now for half off your first month. And get in there because we have a bunch of sports going on right now. PGA is still going strong, even on the MLB All-Star break. So now's the time to check that out too. Yeah, people in the chat, one guy in the chat, Dylan asking Pinder or Canha, since we are talking about the Oakland lineup and that lineup is officially out. Which of those two guys would you go with, Emac?
Pinder is dealing with a bit of an ankle issue, and he's always a pinch hit risk. Canha is healthy, and he's very good against lefties. I would default to Canha. Pinder's a guy I like to look to a lot of times against lefties. I just don't think he's at full health right now. And I believe he only got 3 at-bats last night, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, the discount on Pinder is interesting, but I think I would pay up here, even though the ownership is also going to be with Canha. I guess if it's part of the stack, part of like a larger Oakland stack, and you have Chris Davis as part of that stack, then I might be more inclined to go to Pinder. But yeah, Canha, I think I would favor his power. Just a much stronger ISO, a 290 ISO compared to a 181 for Pinder, and this spot versus Gonzalez, who can give up that production to really either side of the plate, but especially to righties. I think it's a nice spot to go to Canha here and hope that he can figure it out. Let's see. Abreu and Jimenez. I really don't have any White Sox stacks at all. People are talking about White Sox stacks. How much White Sox do you have, Emac?
Not much. 6% on my 5-mans. 6% for the Cubs on my 5-mans.
Yeah, it's a good spot theoretically going against a lefty in Leicester. And, they've gotten the guys that got to Erod yesterday a little bit, but not enough where he was still in tournament winning lineups for whatever reason. He didn't have that great of a return on value, but he was in the top one that I saw on DraftKings when looking at everything. And I don't mind the spot going against Leicester because Leicester does give up production, but his strikeout ability has been strong, and the White Sox do strike out enough of a clip where my side of the equation that I took there was a lot more Leicester. I think I'm about 3 times the field on Leicester. Is projected for about 11% ownership on DraftKings. And I'm okay with that because I think the strikeouts are going to be there for Leicester, but you give up enough production where I don't mind a mini stack more so for the White Sox.
Yeah, the guys you want are the 3-man. You want a McCann, Abreu, Elo Jimenez would be the guys. Maybe throw in Moncada, who used to be awful against lefties. He is neutral against lefties at this point.
Yeah, those guys are definitely the most powerful. I wouldn't hate Lurie Garcia in there too if you were going to go there because he at least does get on base, does get some hits, but not as much power as those guys that Emac mentioned. Let's see. Angel stack, question mark, 2, 3, 4. It's not as much leverage as you would normally get on Garrett Cole, but given some of the struggles with power, I guess I don't hate it as a concept. I feel like if you were going to go with an Angel, I'd be more inclined for a one-off pick of them than try to expect full production for a mini stack. But just given the ownership on Cole, I guess I don't hate it. Are you getting any Angels in your final crunches, Emac?
Basically no. I'm getting 50 Robbie Ray and no for the hitters. 50 Robbie Ray, 45 Maeda, 30 Cole, 23 Bumgarner, 22 Gray, 16 Giolito, 8 Lester, 8 Mikolas. So I have 20 left. So I'm just going to lock in Mikolas because I want him. Or Michaelis,
yeah, I mean, we talked about Colorado earlier in the show, but I feel like if I were trying to get leverage on the field, I think I would be trying to go against Robbie Ray or Maeda, at least on DraftKings. Cole's ownership is high, but not quite as high, and he's certainly a better pitcher. And I don't think it's a perfect Angels spot, honestly. I mean, obviously going against Cole is not going to be a perfect spot for anybody, but I don't see any really big guys who jump out. Never a bad time to go to Mike Trout. Certainly never a bad time to go to Shohei Ohtani going against a righty either. But yeah, I wouldn't be too inclined.
And they each got home runs last night, but it's not like that was great. And I mean, Verlander didn't do great, but it's not like he got killed either. So it's just a hard one to go with.
Yep, I agree. I also hit that like button, guys. We got 4 more minutes until lock, so please do that. It's a holiday weekend. We're here for you guys. Emacs here tomorrow as well. So got a lot of stuff going on this weekend, even though we are in the dying days of MLB before the All-Star break. So go please like that button, hit that like button rather right now, and give us that support because that's what we need. It helps us keep the lights on every day. Any more changes to your Mets exposure here, given that we've talked about the weather here? Have you dropped any further, or are you still riding with what you had?
I'm coming in with maybe 2% hitters at this point. Okay. So I'm fine with that. because we have 2.5 minutes left until lock, I really can't chase it down. So.
Yeah, if they do go off, if that game does play, I mean, it's a really nice spot for Mets hitters there, and I feel like that would be the spot. I did take out the little Syndergaard that I had because I'm not trying to take a pitcher at this point, but I feel like a Mets mini stack maybe not the worst idea, or even a full stack if you're willing to blow a lineup or two on that. Still a nice spot for them and a nice run total.
I don't think I got enough Mariners. There's my one regret.
Yeah, do you have enough Dan Vogelbach in your lineup? What if he goes off today? What if he has 3 home runs?
Then I'll be up on the leaderboard, I guess.
And I try to take the players that I have the most of because I want it to benefit both ends. But honestly, I feel like that's probably the better approach. Where if he has 3 home runs, great. Doesn't mean I'm going to play more of them.
Yeah. I probably
for GPP single entry on FanDuel, which would you go with, Emac? Springer and Goldschmidt or Vogelbach and Trout?
That's a really good one. I would still go Springer and Goldschmidt. I'm hoping that Bumgarner challenges him. I'm hoping the home runs that have come against lefties recently help him out. I hope he remembers he can hit lefties really, really well. That's it. It's like 52-48. So I think you're close there. I wouldn't hate either lineup. Like if you were coming against me with those lineups, I wouldn't say, yeah, he picked the wrong one. No, I'd be like, we'll see what happens. This is why they play the games. But that's a good.
Yeah, I think I would also go Springer and Goldschmidt just because I think Springer is going to be one of the better projected players on the slate.
Probably 5 at bats for Springer it gives him the edge.
Yeah, it's a nice problem to have though. Those are definitely champagne problems if you're picking between Springer and Goldschmidt and Vogelbach and Trout.
Right. Moment of truth. How much Vogelbach do I have? Now I will still be playing the night slate, so there's always hope. But
get all your Vogelbach exposure in there. That's where he'll carry you to the pay window.
8%. He is so ahead of him. I got White, Goldie, Muncy, Abreu. Muncy's 2 position eligible. Abreu, Canha 2 position eligible. Rizzo and Vogelbach. But basically, if you normalize the guys that are multi-position eligible, Vogelbach is my 5th highest. So that's relatively solid. And he's head and shoulders. He's literally double anybody else I have. So it's just a smattering of people after him.
We got just like about 30 seconds left, but Emac, let's say looking at your overall numbers, if one guy hits a home run today, I'm looking at mine right now, and it's kind of funny based upon what we talk about in the course of the show. If one guy hits a home run today, who's going to help you out the most?
Chris Davis, 50%.
so it's also him for me too. At the same rate, 50%.
Well, we are using similar projections. We're using Alex's projections here, so there you go.
Oh God, yeah. I got half my max 20 are Chris Davis, and I'm okay with it. But I went against that guy just as a concept. I didn't go because I knew I had that much Chris Davis, but like take value when it's there. Just take value when it's there.
Yeah, and for Oakland, and they were one of the stacks I liked. So this is intentional because again, I run mostly stacks, and then I free up about half my lineups where it's just one stack. Where it's 5-0, 4-0, or I kind of count 5-2s as one stack, really, because it allows anything else to happen with the other 2, or with the other 3 spots, just 2 guys on the same team. And usually you don't always get the correlation where they're next to each other in the batting order when you're doing that. You're just getting the 2 best values on a team. So Davis is at 50, Ramon Laureano is at 14, Canha's at 14, Pinder's at 12, but Pinder's and Canha are multi-position eligible. Chapman is my 2nd highest third baseman at 30. He's behind Bregman. Bregman's multi-position eligible. He's shortstop and third base. First base, Olsen. I only have Olsen on 7 lineups. He's the perfect differentiation play. Did break his hamate bone in the season opener in Japan against the Mariners, but he's climbing up the home run chart. So maybe he's going to be one of the rare guys that doesn't affect him, and he actually does okay with power against lefties. And Marco Gonzalez actually gives up home runs to lefties. Not in abundance, but it's a very similar rate to righties, which is unique because he's a southpaw. So.
Yeah, he's under league average versus both sides of the plate, 2.5%, 2.4%. But about even for both. So look, I don't mind the Oakland spot, and Marco's been appreciably worse this year. So we'll see how it goes. But go Chris Davis, go, just despite that one dude who was LOLing and LMAOing and everything for.
Hey, and when Davis goes 0 for 4, feel free to send us a tweet or make fun of us. That's what this is about. If you're not having fun doing DFS, you're doing it wrong. You're just doing it wrong. If you go on tilt and you're mad about everything that happens in the first 10 minutes of the night, DFS may not be for you.
True. It's you got to be zen about it all. So hopefully you guys are zen about your lineups today. We are locked now. Of course, if you haven't used that promo code live before lock, please do it right now. You get half off your first month of Osmo Plus, get all the ownership projections. It also includes any package that has Fantasy Cruncher as well. So you get half off your first month with that, get the regular projection, plug them right in there. You're using the same numbers EMAC and I have, and you can have all the Chris Davis along with us. That's really the goal here. Get as much Chris Davis as possible in your life, just to spite random dudes. But EMAC, what's your schedule tomorrow?
We will be on at 12 o'clock. It will be myself and Josh Engel. I have not even looked ahead to the slate because it seems that DK has decided not to play the 3 o'clock ones anymore, but they're not in Colorado or Texas, and those are usually our default 3 o'clock games. So it's probably just going to be through the 2 o'clock games. Oh, but there's a lot of them because it's the day before the All-Star break. There is no Sunday Night Baseball. So we've got 4 o'clock games that we'll be doing office hours at 3 o'clock. That's in premium Slack. We'll talk about some lineup breakdown. This will be a fun one because you got Jack Flaherty against San Francisco. Nice matchup for him. Jeff Samardzija at home. Decent matchup for him against a bunch of righties. You got Herman Marquez on the road against Arizona. We're going to like him. Alex Young is up. This is his 3rd appearance. He's made 1 other start. He had okay numbers. So we'll have to talk about him. We'll see where the pricing comes in. Joe Lucchesi and Ross Stripling. Stripling starting to get stretched out a little bit more. And then Daniel Mengden against whomever is coming out for Seattle. I'm sure it'll be an opener. And it feels like it's, about time? Is it time for Tommy Malone again? I have no idea who's up for the Mariners at this point. But that'll be a good one. But it's a 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 game slate between 1 and 2 o'clock. So we will go sharply at noon. And we will walk you through all of this. We've got projections for the players, popularity, all that stuff behind the paywall. And then the other thing, because the All-Star break's coming up, Summer League Basketball. This is an add-on package for all of us at Osmo. This is not included in your regular one, but it's I think it's $19.99. I think after today there will still be 9 days left of Summer League Basketball, and you get a private show with, well, it could be that kind of show. I haven't watched it yet, but Fast Eddie Fear and Rinpack.
Fast Eddie's going to get some tokens. He's going to vibrate at various times. It'll be a fun time.
We shall see. We shall see. But that is behind the paywall for that show. And these guys are just going through mountains of data because remember, these teams are playing almost every day. So they're sitting players because it's I think everybody plays something like 7 games during Summer League. They're not playing every day. So you got to check it out. They're reading the tea leaves. They're figuring out what's happening in all these press conferences, all the blogs, Reddit, all that stuff. Rinpack has had phenomenal showing in the single game stuff, especially for the conference or the NBA Finals. I think he ended up pulling down like 40 or 50K on one night, and I think he was up closer to 60K for the playoffs. So, wow, pretty good for him. And then he was peppering the Minimax for baseball the other night. He and Jake were going back and forth in Slack, and then ultimately a couple of the games went into extra innings. So they had nice nights, but they were not top 10. But they were, at one point, they were both in the top 5. So.
Yeah, so get that package, get the Summer League package in there. Eddie and Rinpack are doing great jobs every day there, and that'll be going if you are jonesing for a DFS fix while MLB is on their All-Star break, so check it out. Go check out, subscribe, hit the notification bell for Josh and EMAC tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern. They'll be there breaking down that slate right before it goes live, so check that out. Otherwise, the content will be back on Friday. I mean, we have some PGA stuff on the channel too, so if you want to care about that, if you want to get into some PGA stuff, that is a good spot to do so with Ben Rasa and Jason Roslin doing a great job every single time with PGA. So check that out while we're on an MLB break. But I'll see you guys in a week. So thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it. Hit that like button on the way out. And we'll see you guys again soon. Good luck.
All right. Follow me at EMAC DFS, at Chris Pags DFS, and Osmo_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.